what is your earliest memory of your family enterprise and sort of like your first association with the fact that your family has built this business?
Well, my first link to the family business has a lot to do with the products that were made by Carvajal, meaning the notebooks, the writing machines. I remember the Christmas ornaments that Carvajal produced a long time ago, the pop-up books for children. So my first memories related to Carvajal have a lot to do with the products. Then when I was at school, I remember feeling very proud of the fact that the majority of my classmates used the notebooks produced by Carvajal that were very popular. I remember visiting the factories with my parents, with my cousins, and feeling very proud about that.
When did you realize the complexity behind it? Like, how big it was in terms of like the operations, etc. And when did you realize like how many of your family actually were involved in running Carvajal?
Well, very early in life, I know I was part of a very special family, not only in terms of the business, but also in terms of the social commitment of the family with the prosperity and with the improvement of the social conditions of the not only of Cali, but of the region. So I grew up listening to all sorts of stories, quotes, anecdotes from my grandfather and all his brothers, sisters, cousins, and his desire from the very beginning of the business to help improve the conditions of the city and the region. So I knew very early in life that I was part of a very special family.
So you're today the president of the board of the Family Foundation. Did you always know that this was going to be the part of the family enterprise you would want to contribute to? How did your journey take you to this position?
Yes, I know my connection with the business was not as strong as my connection with the foundation, but this has a reason, and that is that my parents worked for the foundation for a long time. My mother, she's a social worker and an educator, and she has worked for more than 55 years at the foundation, designing educational content that comes with the social programs that the foundation implements. And my father, he worked at the foundation also for a long time before, until he was elected mayor of Cali in 1992. So
Okay.
ever since I was born, I was listening and surrounded by the work on the foundation of the foundation, and that's something I always felt very inclined to that kind of work more than the work at the business. Actually, in Carvajal, I only worked for a couple of months proofreading books and magazines, but it was a very short period of time. The majority of my life and my interest, my personal interest, has always been more linked to the foundation than to the business.
What would you say is today sort of like the greatest threat to the effective running of your foundation? Like, what is the biggest challenge that you face?
Well, the biggest challenge is the social conditions of the territories where we are working. After the pandemic, of course, the entire world suffered terrible consequences, and we're not the exception. But after the pandemic, we had this terrible social riots, the most devastating social turmoil we have faced in Cali in decades, I would say, in the entire history. So the biggest challenge for us is to move faster, to accelerate the pace, because we do that. The kind of work that we're doing has an impact. We feel very confident about the way we are approaching social development in the region, but the dimension of the problem keeps just growing. So the biggest challenge for us is to be able to increase the partnerships, to partner with the local municipality and to other private and business actors in order to address the dimension of the problem. That's the biggest challenge.
What about the next generation, Ana Maria? Like, so if you look at the next generation, so, I think Gen 6 is already in existence now for Carvajal, which is incredible. So the sixth generation is there. how do you communicate with the younger generation around philanthropy? What is the messaging that the family does? And what's the role of the family foundation, I would say, in instilling that awareness that you grew up with because your parents also were working in the foundation?
That's a huge challenge to keep the new generations engaged with the work of the foundation. And we face that challenge through, as I said before, with effective communication, constantly letting the family members know what's going on and what kind of progress are we making. And there's also one strategy program that runs the family office called the Next Gen program. And that program allows the younger members of the family to join board meetings. So that's a way for them to learn about the organization, to learn about the challenges, and to learn about the decision making process. And also, the family office is also working in a program of volunteers. So members of the family can work in specific tasks in the different programs the foundation is implementing. And that's another way for them to get a closer contact with the kind of job that we're doing. But I would say communication, the next gen in the board meetings, and the volunteers as well.
Tell me about how, as a entity, the foundation communicates with other governance units. So, how does the foundation communicate with the family office and the family council? And how does the foundation interact with the business itself? How have you structured this?
In terms of how we communicate, every time the family gets together, we dedicate time for the business, time for the family office, and time for the foundation. Every single meeting has a time slot for each organization. So that for us, it's equally important. In terms of the relationship between the foundation and the business, it used to be very isolated. I don't know exactly why that was the way of doing things. And the business had its own sustainability practices and policies, and the foundation did its work in the regions we decided to focus on. But in the recent years, we have been working in a more articulated way. For example, the packaging business has a huge challenge in terms of environmental impact. So it's working intensively in the recycling of the products that we're putting in the markets. And at the same time, the foundation has a huge experience and a lot of knowledge working with communities and working with the people who work and who live out of recycling. So what we have been doing in the recent years is working together in a program so that we combine the knowledge of both organizations in order for the business to achieve its goals in terms of sustainability, and for us in terms of improving the life conditions of those people who live out of recycling.
Ana Maria, what kind of skills does a family foundation really need? So if you look at the next generation, do you have any sort of hopes that you're thinking we would love to attract more people who can do this and this and that, because it would really help the foundation to increase its impact, like you have explained to us in the beginning, is your intention. In terms of skill sets, upskilling, what do you think, the future foundation members should be bringing to the table?
Well, we need a combination of different skills. The most important one for me is the ability to connect with community members and to see what their barriers are. So, the ability to gain people's confidence and people's trust, it's a key one, and it's not easy to develop, but that's the basis of everything that we do. So I would say the most important one is the ability to gain people's trust, and that allows us to help them develop themselves. We always think that we have never approached the work of the foundation from a philanthropic way, meaning I have the solution for you to overcome poverty. We, on the contrary, we try to understand the kinds of barriers that they're facing, and we help them overcome those barriers. So I would say the most important ability for me is that capacity of gaining people's trust. And also, of course, since we have this urgence of scaling up in a faster way, we need the ability of partnering with public organizations and international cooperation organizations and other businesses and other NGOs. There are a lot of NGOs working, but we tend to work in a very isolated way. So the second ability I would say is key for the future of the foundation's work is that capacity of articulating other actors in order for the society to prosper.
Do you have fundamental, maybe more general advice when it comes to setting up the family foundation? For you, it's been a long time. The foundation has been in existence for a long time. Any advice to those who are maybe at the start of this journey, core principles, guiding principles that you think a family should be paying attention to when setting up a foundation structure?
I like to quote one of my uncles when he says that the most important thing is to fall in love with the problem and not only with the solution. Because we in foundations, we tend to fall in love with our own solutions and our own methodologies. And we tend to think that is the only way to address a specific social issue. So it's really important for foundations to be more humble and to think and to learn and to constantly be open to learn from other organizations. No, we don't know all the answers, but we in foundations we tend to think that we do. So you get stuck with a specific way of doing things, and maybe there are other organizations that are moving forward at a faster pace. So having the mind open to share and to learn from others, I think it's something that is crucial for us to move at a faster pace. And also, I would say that answering the question of which way or which pathway to choose, it's not easy. It has a lot to do with the personal inclinations of the family, and it's okay. Every pathway, it's okay. The key question here is to maintain the path that you decided to work on, and to be open to learn from others and to articulate other actors. It is impossible for one organization to do everything and to achieve the impact that is needed. So if we don't add more actors and we share knowledge and we work in a more integrated way, we won't succeed.